Well, here's something I've played with. I had one of these on me for the last 2 months or so, I don't know. Kept it with me, had it on me all the time, played around with it for a while, this way and that way. And now I've suddenly decided to make a dozen of them. And this is number 11 and 12 out of the dozen, because I've got 10 here. And what one can see with this is that these circles, if you like, these hexes, with their 6 fingers, are a neutral corner of sorts. And for the structures of space-time to come to be, all one needs to do is to take out a couple of these fingers from a corner. And the sum total of takeout over a whole membrane of a whole structure would be a dozen. And that's something I knew for a while. I did a video on that already, but now I thought of this as a really awesome way to see that and to show that, because this is currently, it's 10 of these circles, hexes, and they constellate currently as this two-frequency foureyes. And the only thing that I did with it was that I put these dowels into these beads. You can see this one is actually in too deep. Here. It's just put in there. No big thing. Yeah, but put that in with one hand while in the video. Yeah, but now with all of these in, the 6 here that go around the eighteyes in the middle of this, they have all fingers taken up, while the 4 out on the corners only use up 3 of their fingers, and 3 of them are going out open. So looking at this perhaps is clearer. 3 of those 6 are taken up by the structure, and the other 3 are reaching out. So 4 times 3 is a dozen. The whole thing is a takeout of a dozen fingers. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take a dozen of these, so these 2 also, and tie them together as the membrane of a vector equilibrium, and then I'm gonna stick them together to make up a dozen eighteyes. And that's gonna show us some more about this taking out stuff. Cool, looking forward. Alright, well, I've moved past disassembling the two-frequency foureyes, and I will put it back together insofar as that I am going to create a foureyes and eighteyes specifically, so as to show what happens with the takeout, the angular takeout for those ones. But this is currently the shell of the vector equilibrium, so it's 8eyes, but they're not omnitriangulated. I'm just showing this to show how this is very much a transform currently. I could, if I had 6 more of these, I could complement this whole thing up to make a membrane of a two-frequency 8eyes, which would be big, very nice. but as it is right now, I'm just gonna take 6 sticks and I'll bridge up these apparently square four-sided eyes and turn them into pairs of eyes. So it's going to be 6 more pairs of eyes, and then this is going to be a dozen and 8 eyes, also known as, or apparently similar, superficially similar to the icosahedron, as it's formerly known. Yeah, but this is just intermediate. I'm gonna put in those sticks and see where this takes off to. Well, now here we go, and I've just turned this into the dozen and 8 eyes, and now every corner is using 5 fingers and 1 finger is just pointing out the obvious. So since this is a dozen corners and every one of them has 1 finger pointing outwards or inwards, we could do it just 1 finger not involved in this membrane. All of those fingers added together is a dozen. So we have the dozenal takeout again. And before I took out or put in these sticks, the angular takeout of this was actually a dozen and, no, actually 2 dozen. 2 dozen rather than a dozen. And therefore it was not a omnitriangulated structure. And now it is, and as such it's nice and large, very big volume, and very stable for just being those sticks and these utterly flexible and dynamically moving corners here that are just so stable because of the triangulation, right? Now that I've opened this up, see how it's moving. So this is a way of knotting this together where I am not forcing it. I have instead, I know how to not force it and instead tie some knots. But these knots do not make this static or indeed immoving, inanimate, solid. This isn't solid, this is vivid, this is animate, this is alive. Alright, and I think I'm gonna just add a little more to this. I'm gonna take this out, disassemble it again, and then turn it into a number of 4eyes and then into 2 8eyes, because this is a dozen corners, a dozen circles. So for 8eyes we need half a dozen, so we can make 2 8eyes out of this. And for the 4eyes we only need 6, half a dozen, which is to say we can make, hold on, did I say 6? The 4eyes only has 4 out of a dozen, and that's a third, so we can turn this into 3 4eyes. Alright, let's do that. Well, now I've taken the thing and put it together into 2 8eyes. It's a dozen circles, and now we have 6 corners, 3 and 3, and every corner is only using 4 of the fingers, and 2 of them are pointing away. So we have a takeout of a dozen. which is actually pointing out that it's remembering its oneness, its being member of the eighteyes, the foureyes. Yeah, so that's next. Do you see how it's either sitting on these three noses here, 1, 2, 3, like so, or it's sitting on the flat like these. Then it's sitting on the ground directly. That's cool. That's really cool. Alright, now for the last bit I'm gonna take it apart again, disassemble, and put them together as 3 foureyes. Yeah, it's a dozen, so we can turn them into 3 foureyes. Alright, let's take a look at that. Okay, so after all of this, I've thought showing all of these structures as they were, I'm gonna show how I changed them too, just for reasons of completion. But here it's a foureyes already, and on this we have 4 corners, 4 of these hex circles, and each one of them is using 3 fingers and pointing out 3. So that's 4 times 3 is a dozen, and it's nice, fits like a glove here. These pointing outwards, like so. Alright, now let's take this, turn it into, together with these 2 left over from the other eighteyes, I'm going to turn it into 2 more foureyes. Here we go. And I suppose I'll just do the same arrangement as I did with the other one for this. It's really as simple as putting a stick into a finger. But be careful, I put one of the sticks into my actual finger. That hurt a bit. There we go. And here, taking this one. There we go. Now it's 2 of them. And with that we have 1 more left over. Let's see. And on this one I'll rearrange the fingers. So that we get this kind of 120 degrees. That's 10 dozen. You know, every finger in here has, like, that's 5 dozen degrees, 60. Oops. that's the last of them. Nice. And that has a little bit of a different arrangement of the fingers that are spreading out of it. But isn't that nice? So yeah, I think it was well worth creating these. And I've run out of beads again, so I can't just keep on making them, growing them. If I would have enough of them, I'd make another 6 of these hexes, because then I could complement the membrane that I began with. No, it wasn't the one I began with, the second one, the one that was the membrane of the vector equilibrium. If I took that and complemented it with 6 more of these corners, I could make it into a big two-frequency 8-eyes membrane like this. And I think that would be fun. Next time I get more of the beads, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, but that's enough silly eyes for today. I hope you enjoyed our little look into the spheres of space-time, and I see you soon, somewhere around the corners of the universe.